All right, we're good to go? We good? Well, thank you all for joining us here today. I want to acknowledge the Mayor of Auckland, His Worship, and Deputy Mayor Desley Simpson. We also have some councillors here, City Rail Link Limited, and representatives of people who've worked on the project. The Mayor and I are thrilled to announce this morning that CRL will open on Friday, September 13th. Oh, sorry, Sunday, September 13th.
Can I show you the sign?
It's right behind us. CRL will open on Sunday, September 13, and there'll be an official ribbon cutting a couple of days before, but first train's on Sunday, September 13. This is a turning point for Auckland. In 5.5 weeks' time, for the first time, a train will run all the way through the middle of the city rather than winding around the outskirts. Aucklanders will have faster journeys, more frequent train services, and a rail system that can support the city's future growth. The rail network will stop being a handful of lines that die downtown and become what it should always have been, a network with trains every few minutes. Auckland is about to get what Londoners, New Yorkers and Sydney-siders take for granted. You don't have to worry about missing a train because the next one is only a few minutes away. City Rail Link is 3.45 kilometres of twin tunnels, 3 new stations, and it's cost $5.5 billion. But it will double the number of Aucklanders within 30 minutes of the CBD. This is a story bigger than those numbers which will grab the headlines. It's a story about the thousands of New Zealanders who've worked on this project, the tunnellers, the engineers, electricians, specialists and planners who made this project possible. It's about the apprentices who came onto the project as school leavers and will walk off as qualified tradespeople, ready to build the next thing and the next thing after that. Fundamentally, it's about the people who will sit on a train heading to a first day at a new job, going to the doctors, heading to school or to shop or to catch up with friends. It's about the new homes that will be built and the new jobs created. This is not simply another piece of infrastructure. It's bigger than that. Good infrastructure binds cities and the people who live in them together. The real value is not in the tunnels themselves. It's what's outside the tunnels, what's outside the station doors that matter. Thousands of people riding up the escalators into streets full of shops, offices, students, somewhere decent to eat afterwards, all thriving because of this project. New apartment buildings, homes and townhouses popping up, made possible because of this project. City Rail Link is a symbol of our ambition for Auckland and our ambition for New Zealand. Small country at the bottom of the world, choosing to be wealthy, modern and prosperous. That does come with trade-offs along the way, and Aucklanders have lived with this project for a decade. Business has been disrupted, roads have closed, and communities have experienced some hardship. Those communities won't look the same once this project opens as they did 10 years ago. It has not been easy, but they are inevitable costs when a country decides that the future it wants to build is worth the inconvenience. Once people jump on the first train, it will be clear it's been worth it. Have there been mistakes along the way? Absolutely. Are there lessons we must learn for the future? Of course, and we will. But of all the Aucklanders who will come to rely on this every day, not one of them will be thinking about the consenting challenges, the funding agreements, the arguments that have been had along the way, and that's the point. Good infrastructure sits quietly as the backdrop of an ordinary day. It sits quietly, making our lives a little bit better than they otherwise would have been. I am really proud to be the Minister of Transport that gets to see this project completed. And I want to acknowledge all of those who've helped make this project a reality. It has been a long journey to get to this point. It started around 10 years ago. Actually, if you're going to go all the way back in time, this project has been talked about since the 1920s, when it was called the Morningside Deviation. And here we are 100 years later, finally delivering the City Rail Link project for Auckland. There have been many ministers along the way, many prime ministers, many mayors, many advocates for this project. I just happen to be the Minister of Transport who gets to cut the ribbon and announce it. But there have been many people before me, and there'll be many people after me as well. We built this, and we can build more. Thank you.
That's a cracking good speech, Minister. Well done. People have been asking me for years when the CRL was going to open, and finally we did something ahead of time. We announced it this morning accidentally. Well, they did anyhow. It will fundamentally change the way Aucklanders travel. It's a significant step to a more connected and productive city, and it's up to the council now to build that capacity and make it happen. It has a capacity. I want to make sure that the capacity is used. We want people to use the city rail link. That's our next step. That's our next challenge. That's why we're working to ensure there are more people living around the railway stations. That's why we're doing this by changing the zoning through the PC 120 process, which has become famous, and we are encouraging developers to build multi-storey units near the station so people are close to the public transport that they can use and that they will use. And if we upset a couple of people in leafy roads, too bad. We've got to make this, it's cost so much, we've got to get people onto it to make it pay for itself. I'm all about doing things better, faster and cheaper. And the trains do provide a better and faster way to get around Auckland, and the $50 fare cap makes it cheaper. And for business owners who've struggled while the CRL was under construction, they can reap rewards of being so close to it with the increased foot traffic. Just look around upstairs, this little pub's getting ready to fill up. The guy we had coffee this morning had his best day in 10 years, and there's more coming. CRL is a game changer which will unlock many opportunities for the city. It cost too much and took too long, but it will be appreciated for generations. It'll shift Auckland up a gear, and along with the transport reform, we'll get Auckland moving. Quicker to get across town, quicker to get into town, quicker to get across Auckland. More travel choices, increased rail capacity, faster journeys, easier for people to get in and around. We've got to sell that message. Get on the train. It means easier access to work and school while helping reduce road congestion. And it does, these things do work. The Northern Busway is so successful now, there's no more cars going over the bridge than there were 10 years ago. People are on the buses. People will be on the trains. It's our job, it's your job, Stacey, and it's our job as councillors. Follow Councillor Baker, who catches the train every day, and there's Councillor Henderson and myself are the other two catch buses, I think. It's no secret I've had strong feelings about the cost of City Rail Link, but there's no doubt it's an investment that will help Auckland get moving and support our growth for decades. So thanks to all of you gathered around here, supporters, workers, arguers, everybody with something to do with this thing here. This has produced every form of human emotion, and I'm now delighted to say that I've lived long enough to see it open. Thank you very much.
We're taking questions.
Questions from the arguers. Are you confident Auckland is going to use it? That's the real test, right? That people get on board and make noise.
Well, think about
the Northern Busway work.
Exactly, I was just about to say, think about the Northern Busway, the most successful transport project in New Zealand history. 2007-8 had a benefit cost ratio of 1.3 or something. Deep scepticism. 40% of people who cross the harbour bridge these days do so on a bus. It's been a huge boon for Auckland. So you've got to think about CRL in the context of the Auckland Rapid Transit Network, which successive governments, starting from early 2000s, mid-2000s, have built out to build Auckland into the modern world-class city it can and should be. We've got the Northern Busway, we've got CRL and the Auckland train network, we've just electrified the line down to Pukekohe, we've just opened on the weekend 2 new stations at Drury and Pairata, we've got Ngākaroa coming next. We've got the Eastern Busway, we've just turned the sod on the final stage of that. That's soon to be completed and open. We're working on the Northwest Busway. We've got some exciting announcements next week around that. It's going through fast track. So you can't do all these things all at the same time. You can't build them all at once. It's been a multi-year journey and will continue to be out into the next few years. But the evidence shows that when you build high-quality rapid transit and public transport, Aucklanders use it, and that's good for Auckland, reduces congestion, it's good for housing growth, it's good for commercial growth, it's good for productivity, it's good for prosperity in Auckland, and that's what this government's driving ambition is to lift our living standards, make us wealthier and more prosperous as a country, and that's what projects like CRL and the benefits that come from that deliver.
Are you confident that all these tests, all these dress rehearsals are paid off, you're not going to open with delays to the trains?
Yes. Well, there's all. I mean, yes, there's been extensive testing. You can never rule out a severe weather event or an act of God or anything like that. But yes, there has been extensive testing and safety cases and lots of things. So yes.
The trains are going to run on time?
Yes.
What about Monday?
I'm gulping hard when I'm gulping hard when I say that, but yes.
Commuters get on, right? So, on Monday,
Yes.
when actually people want to come in at 6, 7, 8,
Yeah. Yes. Stacey talked to the timetable and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we know that the Auckland network's been really disrupted over many years, right? So bringing back that reliability and confidence in it is incredibly important. That's why we're having a transitional timetable, and that will build up and improve capacity over time. But yes, we have a high level of confidence. We can't rule out those unforeseen things, but we're good to go.
How do you feel about the statement?
Yeah, it's really disappointing. I mean, we wanted the opportunity to share that with our stakeholders and our people, all the hundreds of people that have worked on this firstly. But things happen. It's a bummer. But look, we're here today, and
How did it happen?
it's probably a content loading issue in terms of that with their advertising supplier.
Have you been in touch with the billboard company about
Yes, we have. Absolutely.
What are those conversations like?
Look, I mean, mistakes happen, right? Human error. And it's unfortunate. But it happened, obviously, on the day, yeah, in fairness. But yes, it's a bummer.
You're smiling.
I've opened some really complex things myself, and there's always a few things, no matter how much. We decided we'd come down here today, the minister and I. There's 2 downwards escalators. We step on there, 1 each at the top. His escalator goes bloody faster than mine. I'm sure that probably wasn't planned, but there'll be a little sign up there saying, if you really rush to catch the thing, get the middle one. If you've got a bit of time, take the other one. These little things will be tuned up, and I think it's pretty cool.
Well, my first thought was the project's late. This is announced early. There's something ironic about that. Then my second thought was, I've got to go on breakfast TV at 7:45 and answer questions about this. And then my third thought was, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, whatever. I mean, it got announced at 6 a.m. It's Sunday, September 13. Does it actually matter? No. The point is, it's going to open. Yeah. So let's focus on the bigger picture here. End of the day, I'm sure Stacey will be talking to the billboard company. Hopefully we get some cost savings on the future advertising. But
You talked about the business disruption. There are still buildings empty up around this station.
Yeah.
There's still huge problems down at Victoria and Albert Street. But I know there'll be a lessons learned report about what should be done in the future. But how upsetting is that? And would you expect to see those buildings to be busy like that?
I think the ones around here that are empty will fill up quicker than the ones in Newmarket. That we've got empty buildings right across the whole country, and but these around here, these things will flourish. People will use these stations. There's no question about that. You just wait till the big trial, won't be the first day, that when the Australians versus play the All Blacks, this will be flooded. And that's the sort of thing that people will really understand. We'll be able to get round with, there won't be so many bloody orange cones around Eden Park, and there'll be, because people sensibly will catch the train to Eden Park, and that'll be fantastic.
Absolutely.
When it comes to the official opening, will Lee Brown be invited?
Yes, yes.
Is he coming?
Well, we haven't issued the invitations yet, but he will be. Yes. I mean, I think we want to make it a bit of a celebration as to everyone who's worked on this. So, you know, and Len deserves a huge amount of credit for pushing it through back in his mayoralty, no doubt about it. We're going to invite John Key as well. I mean, ultimately, I'll not be too party political about this, but ultimately, you know, it was a national government back in 2015-16, that period that kicked this project off, and it's a national government which will open under. That's not to diminish the years of work in the meantime, and as I said in my sort of opening remarks, this has been talked about for 100 years, you know, and ultimately we are delivering it, and it's taken sustained investment from taxpayers and from Auckland ratepayers over multiple years, and they will get the benefits of it. So yep, Len will be invited to the opening, and John Key. My one great sadness I've got to tell you is that Nikki Kay won't be able to be there at the opening, because she or Robbie, they both, you know, played a significant role in making this happen. Simon Bridges as well as Minister of Transport, he's still around, he'll be there.
What will the first service look like for the public on the day?
Stacey?
Something special?
Yeah, look, I mean, we are looking at what we can do to supplement services on that day, because we know that there's a lot of train fans out there that'll be eagerly anticipating being on that first service, so we'll have more information on that in the weeks ahead.
Did any of this decision to open in September 13 come from pressure from the government?
No, I mean, it's a fact-based decision in terms of what we're announcing today. In terms of that, there's a process that we had to go through in order to be able to land on that date. I know there's been a lot of speculation about date, for sure. That decision, in order to give us a firm yes, we can go ahead, only happened this week, yeah? And so we're giving that to you as it happens.
Can you explain how you settled on this date, why not the week earlier or after? Is there something about this weekend that lines up better? Is it to do with events?
Not so much to do with events, it's actually got to do with how the rostering works for our train services provider, Auckland One Rail. So that's on a 2-week cycle, and there's a set process they have to go through in order to be able to work with the rosters and the unions to get that to happen.
We've got to tell the drivers, basically.
Yeah.
We've got to give them notice, so it's about 6 weeks.
Stacey, can you just give us more insight as to why it took so long to make the date? Like, what was going into that process? What was the regulation?
What was going in? Well, I mean, as you know, we did extensive testing, and practical completion was a little over a month ago, in fairness. So obviously a lot of testing in terms of that. We worked with emergency services in terms of that, and so with that there were a couple of things that needed to be closed out in order to get approval from the safety regulator, that being NZTA, Waka Kotahi. And so that process obviously needs to be followed. So we can't push the button until we've got absolute confidence that the system is safe to operate.
I think you know, people will see the stations, and you know, people will see the stations, they'll get on a train, and that's great. We want thousands of people to do it. What they don't see is all the stuff behind that, right? The electrical equipment, all of the stuff built into the tunnels. You know, we're talking about tunnels under the ground here, quite deep under the ground. So there's safety stuff there. So there's been quite an extensive process. We get practical completion, but the last thing we would want to do is open early and find there was a problem and then have to close it again, disrupt the network. It would be appalling to do that. And so the lessons that we've taken from overseas with Sydney Metro, the Elizabeth Line in London and others, it's been extensively studied, is take the time to get everything as 100% as you possibly can, you know, and then do the opening and do the transition timetable and build up over time. So we've taken extensive lessons from metros that have opened in places in the last 2 or 3 years. When Mayor and I have been quite hot on that, because the last thing we want to do is open prematurely and then have to close it again. That would be really bad. So we're not doing that.
Ahead of the opening, do you have an updated figure for the kind of, I know there was a big $1 million figure of the business case for the station, how much it would unlock in revenue and profit for the region? for Auckland as a city? Do you have an updated figure on that now that we're closer to?
No, not off the top of my head. I mean, there have been lots of business cases and studies done into this over the years. We know it's going to be good for Auckland. Ultimately, that's why the government eventually greenlit it back in 2016. There's 3 reviews underway or about to be underway into City Rail Link. One is being led by City Rail Link Limited themselves. There will be a benefits realisation report, which will come afterwards. And historically in New Zealand, we open things and then we never go back and look at what we did and work out if it's actually working well and what the benefits are. So after about a year or so's time, once it's open and up and running, we will do a benefits realisation. And my understanding is Auckland Council also has a review underway as well. So there's three reviews underway or about to be underway. The Mayor and I have talked about doing a 4th one. We've kind of decided 4 is probably too many. But we are going to go back and look at the original business cases in 2013, 14, 15, 16, some of the assumptions made, and the City Rail Link review is going to, the scope will be widened a bit to look at that stuff. So yeah.
And I wondered if, based on some of the testing previously, and this may seem trivial, but it is important, when the station is full of people, what is the temperature expected to be down here?
Well, that is a level of detail that I do not have, but Stacey might have it. I don't know. We may have to take that one on notice. Are you concerned about the temperature now, or?
No, I'm balmy, as you can see.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of brisk, I would describe it. Okay, any more?
What's next in terms of the next big project, right? This one nearly here, central intercept is done.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, the mayor and the government have signed, or the council and the government have signed a city and regional deal, and that is a serious commitment from the government for Auckland's growth. We're also about to work on a 30-year transport plan for Auckland, and that is really important. The Mayor and I are about to make appointments to the Mayor's already done his side of it, to the Auckland Regional Transport Committee, which is established by the Auckland Transport Reforms. But it's pretty clear in the regional deal that's already been signed what the priority projects are. I'll let the Mayor speak to his own priorities, but for me, the North West Busway is a really important project because it's the next stage of the Auckland Rapid Transit network. And is a significant project. Would have been a lot cheaper if we'd done it 10 years earlier when we had the Northwestern Motorway discussions. But that is a major project. And the WX1 service that is already operating, essentially as a sort of interim service, is proving remarkably successful, which just proves the response to your first question, that if you build these services, people will use them. But the Mayor might want to talk to it. Well, I'll let the Mayor speak to that.
I think the things that are actually in the sort of the actual urban part of the city are quite well agreed, really. And I think there's a focus on the Northwestern Busway, and it's a sensible step forward. I was quite surprised to become mayor and discover that they hadn't actually, with the success of the Northern Busway, that we hadn't actually already built the Eastern and West ones. But we are, because they've proven to be working. There are a couple of other questions which we will have some arm wrestling over. I'm not entirely happy about the cost of the motorway from north of Warkworth, given the cost of the one to getting to Warkworth, and that's kind of it seems to me more driven by a cargo cult mentality in Whangarei than it is the benefit to Auckland. But so there'll be some arm wrestles about things. It's a very good thing that we're going to be questioning these things early rather than we get stuck into these things. And they're already going to be expensive because of the way we started them. Projects don't go wrong, they start wrong. And so I'm quite tough about that. And but I think that we are getting much more mature and sensible ways of talking to government about doing things. And definitely the Northwestern Busway is a really good focus.
Is rapid transit to Whangarei in the frame?
Well, I think you do step by step. The Northern Busway should have been, Western one should have been finished, so get that done. And then we've got to do something or other about the fact there's a lot of jobs in Whangarei and the airport, and that area is a problem. But that's part of a 30-year plan where we sensibly work it out, not just grab it for vote-earning reasons, you know. We have to have it as a mature city stepping forward. I've been on at that for years. You've heard me talking about that, Simon, for years now, and I want to have this sensibly
That's right.
and boringly predictable, and there's no sense announcing things without the money.
That's right.
That's part of it as well. If we've got a certain amount of money, let's spread that and see what are we going to get, what's the best we can get for that for the next few years, rather than giving ourselves a shock and saying, shit, we didn't expect that was going to cost so much.
We're actually moving into an exciting future. Country's now got a 30-year national infrastructure plan that's actually got broad political consensus across Parliament. We're about to have, or soon will have, a 30-year transport plan for Auckland, and to be honest, the broad contours of that plan are agreed by every reasonable person in Auckland and in government, which was building out the rapid transit network, sensible improvements to the motorway network, making greater use of technology, demand-side measures like time of use pricing, which the council's working on in time. All of those things are actually broadly agreed. City centre to Mangere is a corridor that will be looked at as part of that 30-year transport plan. The great tragedy of the last 10 years, frankly, is that what started life as a, actually pretty inexpensive tram down Dominion Road, about $300 million from memory, ended up being a $50 billion thing that was never deliverable, and everyone kind of acknowledges that. Somehow we went from that, which was deliverable, and if we just started on it, it would be open now and integrated into the rest of the rapid transit network, and it became this thing that was just completely undeliverable, and everyone kind of acknowledges that. Anyway, that's history. We can't change the past. What we can change is the future, and the Mayor and I are very focused on building the future of Auckland.
Last couple of questions and then we'll move to some photos.
How are you expecting this to change how people live and work in the city? It's a very different city to start.
Well, that was what I was talking about with the planning changes that go with this. Intensification should be along the lines where we've spent all the money on good public transport. If you fly over most modern cities, you can tell where the train is because there's a long series of multi-storey buildings down those routes. It's sensible, and we've got to start doing that. We're gonna, and I'm known not to be a fan of chopping up more farmland for houses. I want people to live where we've sunk the money into these, because there's no sense building a capacity for 19,000 people per hour unless you're going to get 19,000 people per hour. And I'm determined we're going to get the people to catch this bloody train.
I'm really proud of where we've landed with the council in relation to the planning changes that support the transport projects that are being announced. And I think, it's not worth relitigating the last year or so, but we've reached a political equilibrium that is good for Auckland. More capacity, more growth, and growth in the right places. Building around train stations. Find me an Aucklander who doesn't think that we should be building more densely around train stations where the trains go through every 5 minutes. There's not that many people who don't think that's a good idea, and that's what the planning changes deliver, and that's what CRL will unlock. So it will change, not immediately, because you need the investment to come. But this is a multi-decade investment in Auckland's future. But over time, people will see suburbs change in and around the stations. Change will be difficult for some people, but that is a good thing ultimately. It will drive productivity, and productivity is the great driver of wages and prosperity, and that is our great national challenge, is wages and prosperity. That is what CRL is all about. It's not just a transport project. I mean, it is, but it's so much more than that, and that's been my driving focus as Housing, Transport, Infrastructure and RMA Minister.